In this video you're gonna learn how to carry Mirage CT side alone with aggressive solo plays. Let's start off with mid plays, and the first thing you need to learn is how to get through this vent rather quickly. Now the jump doesn't have to be perfect, but to be good enough you can run forward, and then as you're about to reach the step on the ground you can strafe right with your W and D keys, but before you hit the wall you jump and let go of your W so that you fly through the air with only your D key being pressed down. Now once we're inside we have a ton of options, one of which is trying to do the cat jump here, but we need to have a backup plan in case we happen to fall down. Now if we fall down we have two main options. We can either be prepared for anybody pushing underground, or we can be prepared for anybody pushing top middle, and you just have to make a choice based on your initial gut feeling and how the opponents have been playing in the previous rounds. Now there is the possibility for a fast underground play such as this one, where you go in with a flashbang and swing instantly on the opponents who should be blinded by your flashbang. This can work once or twice a game if you notice that the opponents take underground control rather carelessly. This play is best done if you have decided to do it from the spawn and you jump down intentionally as quickly as you can. But if I tried to do the cat jump first and I failed it, then I would not go for the aggressive flash play, as it could be late already and the opponent might swing on me before the flashbang pops. Instead, if I fail the jump and still want to contest underground, I would run into this corner here, wait on a timing for the opponent to be out in the open, and that's when I can peek on them. Now whether you do the flash play or not, if you find out that underground is empty and you maybe push all the way up here and clear all of this, now you have two options. You can either go for B apartments play, so what you do is you make sure B apps is clear. If it is clear, your B player can already rotate A, and you can either start flanking T's from this area, or you can go back towards middle, and now you are very strong in middle, because people often forget that you could be underground. So that's something to keep in mind. If you find nobody underground and the enemies don't know you're here, then it's very strong to come back middle, as these are very strong angles and people typically don't hold you that well. Now when to go underground is if you don't have too many teammates with you and the enemies are applying pressure top middle, so maybe there's flashbangs, smoke grenades, or they have been playing it every single round already. You don't want to go for 1 versus 3, 1 versus 4 fights. Instead you'd rather go underground and try to get the 1 versus 1 kill here, take some map control and stay alive. Whereas if you have teammates with you, maybe somebody protecting you from window or somebody in con coming to help you, you can start pushing top mid and try to look away from the flashbang, so hug this wall, and then you can swing here and try to get multi-kills, as more often than not the enemies will be focused on your teammates and now you surprise them from this angle. You can even combine a flashbang if you feel like they are a little bit better players, then you can swing with the flashbang and try to get multi-kills, and now you can either escape or you can just stay here and control all of middle by yourself. This is also very useful if you don't find anybody, then you can tell your teammates to stack A and B with 2 players, and now you can control all of middle by yourself by holding underground mainly and every now and then peeking to see if somebody is here, because somebody coming up from underground is mainly focused on window and connector and a little bit on short as well. They typically don't clear you that well and you should have the advantage. Same thing with anybody coming from T-spawn, they are typically focused on this angle and connector and window, and if you can time your peek right, you can get easy kills for free. Now you can start flanking here, but you need to be aware that if the enemies execute on one of the sides, you will be quite late. So make sure your teammates have maybe utility to hold the pushes off so that your flank will be in time. And here you just have to make the decision if you want to go B or A. I have no tips for this, just make an educated guess and hope you're right. But even if you're wrong, you might end up clearing all of B apps, for example, and your B player can already be rotating A, and you have full B control, and you can go back to A through underground maybe, and this way, when the enemies do finally execute A, you have 5 players basically there, and it should be a winnable round anyways. Now finally, if you fail the jump or if you jump down intentionally, which is an option, you can try to get a kill and escape in the connector. So maybe you jump on the bench and try to find a pick, or maybe you go into con and try to find a pick, or what I like to do is push into an off angle like this and then try to find a pick, and now you can escape into connector, and now you have so many options. You just got a free kill, you can go A, you can go back to connector, you can smoke this off, whatever. You have so many options, just do anything, you already got the man advantage. And again, the same protocols apply. If you don't find anybody, maybe you pushed here and nobody just shows up, that's when you can take all of this control yourself, maybe with a flashbang even, in case the opponents have somebody holding this. And now once you have control of this, the same principles apply. Tell your teammates to rotate away as you have all of middle control, or ask somebody else to take underground control while you start the flank push. These are also very strong options for the AVP. You can go for an underground pick like this if somebody has your back. You can go for top middle picks like this, or you can go for top middle pick like this. Especially useful when the enemies like to use top mid smoke a lot. That's when you can hold here, get a single kill and escape into con safely. Now if you do land the window jump, then you have multiple options. You can either get behind this plate and try to get a pick or two here, and if nobody shows up you can then escape. Or if a lot of people show up, let's say you get a single kill, maybe 2 kills and there's just too many, you can always drop down and try fighting underground. But now they know you're here, so you need to get the kill, you need to push into B apps. That's your only escape route, basically. Unless you have a lot of teammates helping you, and then you can start contesting middle. Now, if the opponents throw the top middle smoke, you can jump up and push forward, and you can try to find picks over the smoke. Quite often there's somebody lining up some utility here, or trying to cross behind the boxes, and you can always escape with the help of the opponent's smoke. Finally, especially with the AVP, but why not with the M4 as well, you can go to this angle and just try to get a single kill and escape into short immediately. From the opponent's point of view, they are typically afraid of connector and window, and they want to swing behind these boxes quickly, which is why you can surprise them with this angle. And the final window play we have is to break this vent as well, and now you can jump up, which is a little bit safer. There's no risk of falling down, but you are a little bit later in middle. You can hold this angle, or you can go for a little bit more aggressive picks as well. And as always, the most important thing is to mix things up. So maybe one of your teammates has been holding window, maybe you have been holding window a lot, maybe somebody even jumped up cat and hold this angle. Now the opponents will learn this, and they will start using more flashbangs and smoke grenades and whatnot, and that's when you can surprise them with a super fast play. So maybe you jump down intentionally and you insta push top middle and you swing on them while they have their flashbangs out. So try to predict what they are going to do, try to stay one step ahead of them. Now let's move on to how to play catwalk and short on B side. First of all, you don't play them on B side, you play them on middle. So you only go B if either you hear them rushing, in which case you can just throw a molly where, like down here or inside apartment, just kill everybody, catch the rush, whatever, easy peasy. But if you don't hear them rushing, do not stay B. Go middle like 99.9% of the time. And here you have a few different options. You can either molly off underground and flash above window. This will allow you to fight top mid as much as you want. Or you can bounce a smoke off of this, or you can just throw the same smoke off of that wall here. This will give you a lot of cover. You can still molly underground if you want, and now you can fight here, or you can climb up here, try to fight this angle. Or if you didn't molly underground, you can now molly behind boxes, and this will flush the enemies out, and this allows you to get more mid control. And if you get the mid control, or if you find a kill, that's when you can go more passive. So don't go immediately passive. Don't be the guy who just sits here and waits for the enemies to do whatever they want. Instead, you apply pressure on the enemies. Use utility, peek on them, try to find the entry kill, or try to find map control, which releases your AVP. He can go ticket, or he can go B or whatever. And then you can adjust to where you believe they will be executing. So that's how you play cat itself. But most importantly, if you have a good spawn for middle, do not be afraid of going middle. So as the cat player, you are partially a mid player. You can try doing all these jumps we showed you, and now you are back to cat, and you are just a faster cat player. You're here to catch them off guard, and even if you fail, it doesn't matter. You can always go underground. You can always listen if they're rushing B, and you can try flanking them. If they're not rushing B, you can still flank them, clear all of this. This releases your B player from B side. He can go A, and now you can start a flank or go back to middle. So be super dynamic. Be a mid player first and foremost. Only come B if you have a bad spawn. So like, if you're not gonna make it to middle anyways in time, then you might as well come through catwalk. It's safer most of the time. And if you feel like they could be rushing B, so maybe they haven't rushed B for a while, or you know they have a Tech 9 buy only, so small money, that's when you want to come B and listen if they are rushing. Other than that, you are a mid player. Now let's move on to B side, where people think they have to be passive and just hold the side and jump on car here, and then they have to retake A and they do not affect the outcome that much. That is not true. I'm going to show you how to be proactive on B. I'm going to show you how to control the map and the enemies from B. But before I do, make sure to subscribe if you are liking this video. Now let's get into how to play B side Mirage. So the most important thing as the B player is to not be afraid of rushes. Do not use mollies like this. Don't immediately nade deep. Don't immediately smoke the enemies off. Avoid panicking. Avoid being afraid of the rush. All you're doing is wasting your utility, denying yourself the aggressive plays. You cannot push through the smoke, and denying yourself the information. Now there could be enemies behind the smoke, they could be lurking, you don't know that, and now you are forced to play B passively because you need to hold the possible lurk. Instead, what you want to do is wait for information. If you are anticipating a rush, maybe they have bad money, tech 9s, maybe they haven't rushed B and they've been losing a lot and you're anticipating a frustration play, you can come underneath this window with your molly out, and if you hear any steps, you have enough time to molly them off and hold the molly here. You can go here, you can go behind the car. If they don't rush through it, you can nade. You can now start using your smoke grenades because you know they are here. But majority of the time you are not going to hear anybody. That's when you can do things like molly deep. That's when you can go jump information. You don't see anybody. Good, now you can jump up. Now you can use your flashbangs. Now you can pick this angle here. Don't see anybody. Clear this, don't see anybody. Nice, now you have B control. If middle is quiet, if A is quiet, you might be forced to play here, but majority of the time you are hearing T's middle, you are seeing somebody on the radar. That's when you can just keep pushing further. If there is somebody holding you, they're not expecting you to keep pushing, unless you've already done this multiple times, so at least once or twice a game you can just flank the enemies for free. So that's something I like to do while anticipating a rush. I can sit here and listen without any risk of me getting shot. Whereas if I'm not anticipating a rush, I skip this whole listening part and just go straight to van. If I don't see anybody, I can molly them off. I mean, I can molly deep, there's probably nobody here because I don't see anybody, and I can jump up. Again, you can use the flashbang or you can just not use the flashbang. Now, what to do if you have been going for the flanks and the enemies are either expecting it, so you don't want to risk anything, or the flanks have not been successful because the enemies have gone A meanwhile, for example. In these situations, if the enemies are not playing B, why should you be playing B? You can just leave, alright? So once you clear this, maybe you've been doing this for 5 rounds already and there'll never be. You peek this, you don't see anybody, just leave immediately. Why play B? And you can either go short for a second guy. If your teammate dies here, they will not expect the second guy. You will get easy kill, maybe 2 kills, and now you can always come back to B safely, alright? But even more powerful than going catwalk is just leave B completely. Just go A. And something I like to do here, because they could be shift walking behind me, is now I smoke into apartments. And this will hold them off while I go middle or A. If I hear a lot of people A, I obviously go and help them. But if I don't hear anything A, I would rather go middle, maybe try to find a kill here. And now you can go back to B. And by the time the enemies realize that B should be empty, you're already back here. And you can always stay in market if you feel like there could be like one guy lurking. You can stay in market and just hold this angle. You shouldn't hold the entire B side in case one guy happens to be apartments, alright? Because now if they go A, you have these really fast flashes, you have this really fast rotate, and again, you are here to help your teammates immediately. So as the B player, you should not be playing the site, you should be the apartments player, and you should be the market player, more than being a B player. Only play the site itself if the enemies are actually here. If you have information, maybe they are rushing and you molly them off, or you've been jumping info and there is somebody here and you molly them off, and now let's say they throw flashes and whatever, you smoke them off. Obviously you have to stay B if they are applying pressure. But as soon as they leave B apartments, that's when you should go aggressive again. That's when you should get the fast info. That's when you should start rotating away from B completely. Now, one more aggressive play you can learn is to jump off of this railing of this fan, and you can either do this with the AVP or the M4. Look for aggressive first kill, and if you don't see anybody, again, you can start going for more information and do exactly what we did before, but now you have an extra molly, alright? So yeah, that's how you become a better B player. Play less B, play more apartments, play more market, sometimes play even a little bit of cat, and you'll be fine. Now let's move on to A site, and here the most important thing is to stop the rush with a molly. I like to throw the molly off of this building's top right corner, so when you come through here, you will see this building, and then you just aim a molly a little bit above it, and it will fly nice and deep into ramp, preventing the enemies from taking any ramp control whatsoever. Now with this molly you can do a lot of different plays. You can start pushing on the right side, make sure nobody comes through the molly, and once you are sure, that's when you can go further with a flashbang. Throw a flash inside the molly, and now you can clear all of ramp, because nobody could be anywhere. The molly takes care of the right side, and the flash takes care of the rest. And now if you don't see or hear anybody, okay, let's put it this way. If you hear people middle, then there's probably not going to be multiple people here, and you can start looking for individual kills. But if middle is very quiet, then you might want to back off and smoke this off instead. Another play you can do is a deep smoke behind the molly. So what you do is you aim at this little wooden thing here, and then you run throw along this box, and you run a little bit further than you feel comfortable, so somewhere around this area, and as soon as you let go, you swing right in case the enemies are going to push through your molly, alright? And then this smoke will land deep, and you can push here and like clear everything, and now you have full ramp control. And if you have two flashbangs, you can both do the aggressive play and help your teammates out at middle, in which case you flash middle, make sure nobody comes through your molly, and then you still have enough time to do the aggressive play I just showed you, and you can swing with your flashbang like this. Now once you have ramp control, you need to evaluate what's happening elsewhere on the map. If your teammates are not seeing anybody middle, if they're not seeing anybody B, that's typically when you want to smoke this off, make sure they don't come through the smoke, and now you might want to even leave completely, because the enemies are probably going to come A. Wait for your teammates to come and help you, try to play around them, etc. However, if your teammates do see a lot of people middle, then you are fine to clear this area next, alright? And take this control and again, evaluate what's happening. If your teammates have already died on middle, if the enemies could be coming through connector, you typically don't want to push further. They will just go A and plant the bomb through connector and you'll be in T base for no reason. Instead, stay here and protect A from here. You can either try to push closer, maybe try to find some early kills, which allow you to fight better in the late round, or if it's already too late, just play here, try to get a kill or two, and you can isolate these fights if you are afraid of somebody still flanking you a little bit late. However, if your teammates are fine at middle and you have seen like two people top mid, that's when you can start your flank. That's when you can start clearing all of this. Now, if you go for the flank, you need to realize that the enemies are right behind this wall and they will hear you running, which is why you need to walk through the entire time, which is why it's very slow. And it's kind of risky. Your teammates could die meanwhile. If they do, it's typically better to turn around. But if they don't die, then this flank can really pay off. The enemies don't expect you here so quickly most of the time, and you can get multi-kills quite easily, alright? Now, another play you can do on ramp is to smoke it off like this, and now the enemies will have a really hard time holding both the left side and the right side of the smoke. So they would have to sit here in the middle and be ready to flick, and they will eat all the HE grenades if they stand here. What this allows you to do is push through the left side of the smoke, and typically you will get ramp control this way as the enemies are holding it here. Just be afraid of anybody on top of this flower pot. They could be trying to hold you here, but honestly at this point it's just a fair 1v1 duel, because you know they could be there as well, and you both are trying to find each other, and yeah, just this is a play you can try. Now you can also aggress palace. What you need to do is learn to jump off of this second step here on these boxes, then jump on the other box and then jump up, and now you typically just swing wide, and this is kind of a risky play. It's best done on MP9 rounds, on P250 rounds, 5.7 rounds, etc. Or if you have the AVP, you can do the same play with the AVP, where you jump up like this, you jump up, and now you catch this angle with the AWP. And you should get easy picks if the enemies don't expect you here. However, make sure to get somebody to cover your ramp, because you're completely exposed here. If nobody can cover you, then you just have to push further, and this is kind of risky, because you basically have to be afraid of two completely different angles. Now, as the connector player, you should play off of your spawn, so if you have a middle spawn, then you should go middle. If you have the A spawn, then you should go A, obviously. And if you have the mid spawn, just do everything that the mid player would do. But if you have the A spawn, that's where things get a little bit different. You can do the A aggressive plays, you can take ramp control, but typically that's not ideal. That's something I would do once or twice a game if your A player never does it, so you can compensate and do his job for him. But typically you would rather go middle through A, and you can molly this off, but you don't have to. The opinions vary on this. Some pros say you should molly, some pros say you don't. Whatever, just do it sometimes if you feel like you want to help your A player out, or don't do it if you feel like you need the molly yourself more. So once you have thrown the molly or not, that's when you cross into connector, maybe jump, maybe don't, mix it up a little bit so you stay unpredictable. And then my favorite thing to do is smoke off of this wall, and this smoke gives you a lot of options. You can push through it, get a kill here, and disappear into the smoke itself. You can sometimes peek from here, although this is risky as the enemy AVP could be holding you, but if you do it only once or twice a game, it could work out. Or you can use the smoke as a cover to fight underground and then hide into connector once again. So this is a very powerful smoke that allows you to aggress middle, just like you would if you were the mid player itself. So learn how to play middle, and that's how you play connector as well, except you come through this connector hole instead of this little mid window. And if you notice that the enemies are not playing middle aggressively, they're not mollying you off, etc., then you don't need to waste your smoke. Instead, you can just push out dry and just go for the kills, maybe use flashbangs as I've shown before. And similarly, if you notice that the enemies are constantly applying a lot of pressure, they're mollying you off a lot, that's when you can play a little bit more passive. You can use the smoke defensively to extinguish any enemy mollies. You can play here and still try to be as aggressive as possible, but obviously don't just rush into middle. If, let's say, window is smoked off and the enemies are everywhere, then you don't want to die stupidly. That's when you just have to be a little bit more passive. But still, you can try to look for kills like this, or maybe kills towards underground here, etc. Alright, so yeah, connector player is a little bit of a middle player, a little bit of an A player, and then a little bit of a connector player. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more awesome videos.